Drag animations. In this video, we are going to learn about the basics of drag animations. Now, drag animations can be intimidating or challenging at the first glance, but they're actually not. It's the simplest thing I've ever worked with when it comes to motion or motion react or framer motion. In this video, we are going to create simple set of cards that animate on drag. I'll give you a demo in just a bit. Let's move on to our screen. This is a stack of cards that we have. Once I scroll or once I drag into the horizontal direction, you see the cards move alongside and they are restricted at the end. And once I release this drag, they snap out from the front and align at the back. This is what we are going to build in this video. And with this, you are going to learn a thing or two about drag animations, how you can actually implement drag animations. Before that, I request you to go to motion.dev, go to docs, select React, and read about this from the documentation, and it will be fairly simple. They have good examples right over here. If you want to do anything with drag animations, you'll be able to do so like these. But in this video, we are going to create this. Now, this are called Tinder cards, tag cards, whatever cards you want to call them. These are those cards. Let's get right into the code and let's learn how you can build it from scratch with Motion, Tailwind, and of course React. So I have my code editor here. These are the cards that I have already. I'll import a dummy component, which is cards, and I'll import it from demo. So now that you see we have got this demo right over here, I'll quickly copy the array that we want to use, and I'll call it const initial card initial stack, and it will have title, description. I have the array already with me, so I'm going to copy paste it. I am going to paste it here. I'll quickly mark it as use client. I'm not going to teach React or Motion in this. I'm specifically interested in teaching you how to actually use drag animations. We have title, description, and source for the image. We are going to quickly render out those cards, but I don't want to do it here. I want to go to this component. I want to call it use client, and I'll paste these here. Now we have cards. We want to render out those cards, but before that, let's have our markup in place. So it'll be a simple one. We have right over here, I'm going to call it class name, relative, and I want to have some width and height for that so that they are nicely spread out. So I'll have 96 of height. Width would be, let's say 80 is fine. Item center, justify center, and format document real quick. So we have this. Actually, I'll also open the chat window. So this code is nicely aligned and doesn't interfere with, I'll close this up maybe. So now you have this demo is rightly aligned. I'll give it some class so that you can see it is BG Red 500. We have the cards right over here. Now I want to absolutely position the cards inside of it. That is what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to call it stacked cards component, const stacked cards, or not stacked cards. I'm going to call it stacked card, which will be our card, and it will be this for now. I'm going to map through stack. I also want to maintain a stack because ultimately we want the cards to jump or rearrange, so that I'll maintain a state for it. Stack set stack is equal to use state and initial stack. All right, we have this. We'll import state, and we are going to do stack.map, and it will be item and index, and we are going to spit stacked card, close it up. Key would be item.title. I'm going to pass it a few things here. The item, the actual card that we want to style, because we want them to be stacked. I really want to mess with the rotation and the scale of it through motion. Before that, let's just pass in our items. Item index would be index, and I'll just quickly format it. Finally, we want to have a total, which is the stack.length, and on send back will be a function which we are going to trigger once the drag is completed. So once the user stops the drag, we want something to happen, right? We want the cards to rearrange. So I'll call it on stack end or on send to back, and it will be a simple function which is going to do nothing for now. This is our card. I really want to style it really quickly just for you to see. I'm actually going to style it a bit. Absolute inset 0. Inside of it, I want to have an image. Source would be item.source. Alt would be item.title, and I'll really quickly pass in the props. It'll be item index total on send to back, and these will be item would be type of initial stack number. Okay, thank you autocomplete. Not this. I'm going to remove this, and in fact I'll remove this as well for now. First I wanted to see some images, so source will be item.source. Alt would be item.title. Draggable and all stuff will hold off for now, but I also want to give it some styling, so it will be class name, pointer, events, none, h full, min h would be 96, word w full, select none, some rounded XL and object would be cover so that you see something at least. And this is what you see. Now everything is aligned on top of each other. That is why I don't see the stack right over here. We've got image, which is the last image here. I want the first image to be first, last image to be last. So I'm going to do exactly that. But before that, let's quickly do a bit more styling over here. It'll be H2. Class name would be absolute. Bottom would be 8, left would be 0, font medium, text XL, and it will be item.title. Title comes here, left can be 4, title goes a bit here, text can be white, font can be bold. So you see this. I also want to have a p tag with item.description and not XL but SM, not white but 60. All right, and it will be bottom 4 that you see it is right over here. Font would not be medium. And I also want to have a div which will be absolute insert 0 H full W full PG black by 50 mask T from 50% and I'll close it up. So you see this comes over here. I'll be rounded XL. That is nicely rounded. It can be relative Z20. This also can be Z20, not relative, but Z20 would do. So they are nicely lined up on top of each other. Now you see something is fishy. I don't like. So they're all on the same plane right now. What I'll do is I'll just quickly import motion so that we can start with our drag animation. Motion React, and I'll convert this to a motion div. First thing that I want to do right here is Z index. So Z index would be total. You remember the total that we passed minus index that we passed. Not here actually. In the stacked cards we want to do it. Motion.div and motion.div right over, quickly format. Now we have this, and here I want to pass in a style tag. Z index would be total minus index. So they are on top of each other. Previously they were on the same plane. That is why you were able to see some opacity or some overlapping. Right now they are on top of each other. This works best. I will maybe make it 10. So it is a bit at the top. So this works. Also, I want them to stack. Now, stacking you can do with Y. That is what we are going to do right here. And I want to actually animate it. Y would be index into 5%. Now it is visible. All right. Basically, I pushed every element by some bit onto the top so they're visible. Now you see all of them are of same sizes. I also want to tweak the scale of it. If I tweak the scale and I gradually decrease it, they'll have that stacking effect right there. I also want to have scale. Scale will be 1 minus index, and I want to drill down the index value to 0.05 so that they're nicely stacked. So you see stack effect comes, and this happens because we have it in animate. The animation that you see, this is happening because we have it in the animate prop. If I had it in the style prop, it won't animate, but I like this effect. That is why I kept it. Also want to have a transition, and transition would be type spring, and I have this value, and this value is all through hit and trial. I already did it. That is why I have this value. Nobody can come up with this value in the first try. You have to always tweak it. So the transition, almost always you have to write it by yourself with hit and trial. There is no universal value when it comes to spring animation. So you have to, hit and trial, use some software or use some SaaS application which gives you easing curves. For this, I'm going to use stiffness is going to be 380, damping is going to be 32, and I'm going to quickly do it as const. Since I'm going to reuse this transition a lot, I'm going to call it stack spring. Type would be, okay, help me autocomplete here. All right, this stack spring I can pass in here. All right, so now if I have this, you see spring animation is taking place. This is the animation that I wanted to work with. Awesome. Now let's try and dabble with drag animation. And it is fairly easy. It is nothing fancy, super simple to work with. And we are going to enable drag animations to motion value. So take a closer look at what I'm trying to do here. Const x is equal to use motion value 0. And I also want to rotate it. So I'll write it right over here. Const rotate. I'll hold on to that for now. And I will pass drag X. See, by just passing the drag prop, you are able to do this. And this is what drag animation is. This is really that simple. You pass in a prop, you hook it up to a motion value, even if you don't have this. And if you have this, will still work. But since I want to track what that value is, I created a motion value because based on that, I also want to rotate the card. If you watched my previous motion tutorials, you'll know how you can use transform hook to hook up this X value that we have hooked it up with drag. And I'll simply call rotate would be use transform X when its value is around minus 150 or 150, I want to change the rotation to minus 12 to 12. Use transform, I'll import, and in the style tag only, I can maybe pass in rotate. That is how you do it, but still it is not working. I don't know why that's not working. Should work. All right, 1 second. I'll also pass in X. See? So now, whenever the X value changes, X is the translate. So it is simply like this. X is the horizontal. It is similar to translate X. All right. But in the motion, you can use shorthands X colon X. With React, you can just do it X. Once I move this, it is also going to rotate. Once it reaches minus 50 or 150 range, it will stop rotating because I have passed in the constraint. Now, you see, it is going all over the place. I do not want that. And I also do not want this to happen. I should not be able to drag the previous card. So I'll create a isTop variable and it will be index is equal to 0. And with drag, I'll pass in isTop. Then I want to move X, otherwise false. So now with this in place, I won't be able to drag the previous items or the previously stacked items, but I will be able to drag this, which is what I wanted. Now, there is one more thing when it comes to drag animations, that is the constraints. I don't want it to go all the way into the window. I want to restrict it. So I can have another property which is called drag constraints, and I can restrict wherever this value goes. So I'll restrict it to left would be minus 150, right would be 150. So when it reaches those bounds, I also want to have drag elastic 0.08. So once I refresh, you see I'm dragging, it will restrict till 150 and it won't let it go till there. That is what I exactly wanted. I want to restrict the movement to minus 150 on the left and 150 pixels on the right. That is how you restrict this motion. Super simple, super interesting. Now the only thing left here to do is if I leave this, it should stack back. It should go at the back. Rest of the cards should come at the front. That is exactly what I'm going to do here. And for that, we have another prop or another function, which is called on drag end. There are two, on drag start and on drag end. We are interested in on drag end because that is when the user stops dragging. And that is what we are going to do here, on drag end. I want to do if not is top or not on send to back. I want to simply return. I want to do nothing. This is our failsafe. This is our switch, or you want to do fuse, come up with any fancy name, whichever works. But essentially what we are trying to do here is reordering. So that is when we are going to call it on send to back. That is our reordering logic. And we also want to animate that card. And for that, we are going to use a function from Framer Motion or Motion, which is called animate. We pass in 3 values: the property we want to animate, the final state we want it to be in, and the transition. For that, we need X. We want to reset it to 0 and we want to pass in stack spring, which is our animation. Cool. On send back is the function which is empty, which is doing nothing right now. If I refresh over here, it just comes back because it doesn't know what to do. So it is just going to snap back because we have passed in 0 over here. Because we have passed in 0, it is going to reset. So that is what happens. This does this stupid thing. Basically, what we want to do here is we want to have the reordering logic. So it will be index equal to 0. Then we are going to run this function, which is set stack. It is going to take S, going to S dot slice 1, and S would be 0. Otherwise, it will be undefined. Let's on send to back. Why is it crying? It is an optional function. Okay. So basically what we are trying to do here is we are trying to take the top element, stack it at the back of the cards. Rest of the cards can follow. We are just slicing, creating a new array, reordering it, simple stuff. Once we release now, snaps at the back, all the cards come at the front because that is how animate prop works. Y values are going to animate. And hence, with this, you are able to create these beautiful cards right over here. There is too much black, and I want to maybe start it from 20. This is how you can create these stack cards. Now, it is fairly simple for you to do. If you check the code, I'll also push it right now. Cool. So these cards are fairly easy to animate. The only thing to take care about here is when it comes to dragging animations, you can hook up drag and give it a property. If you want to track that property, use motion value. But if you want to use it without a motion property, you can do so as well. X, Y, both work in any direction you want to port it, or if any direction you want to drag it, that works. And that is how you create any sort of drag animation with motion. So this is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. We are also doing a giveaway in which we are giving away 10 t-shirts to all random people who comment onto this video and subscribe to the channel. That is the only criteria to join this giveaway. If you want to participate, do drop in a comment and we'll send over a t-shirt. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. तब तक के लिए भाई जय हिंद. बहुत काम करो, बहुत मेहनत करो. Next video में मिलता हूँ. Comment down below what do you want me to talk about in the next videos, and I'll be happy to create such tutorials. I'll see you in the next one.